everybody, welcome to the dungeon. My name is Robin and today is Lampworking 101.93. So today I'm going to share with you guys the double Gravity Swirl bead, and this is just like a really fun bead to make and to play around with. I always kind of find it fascinating that when I'm working towards a certain aesthetic, how things begin and how they kind of morph into the final piece. Like this one, for example, started out like this. It was just a ton of filigrana cane, and the colors weren't working for me, and it was just too busy. So I wanted to just keep working on it, and from here I was able to get to our final bead, this one right here, which I absolutely adore. I hope you guys enjoyed this demonstration, and on that note, I hope you're all doing safe and well out there. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time in the dungeon. Okay, I'm going to start out with my final filigrana stringer that I need to pull out here. I have a big rainbow variety of color, and I'm really excited to play around with this one, but I need to finish up this stringer. So I'm going to just heat up a whole bunch of my intense black, and this is just a great stiff black color that will pull out very dense no matter how thin it gets. So I love to use this color. And I'm just going to build it up on the end of a metal punty rod. You can build these up and make them any way you're most comfortable. I just like to use the metal punchy rods because I feel like I have a bit more control over everything. And once I have this bit of color shaped up, I'm going to encase the whole thing in clear. You can encase this more than once if you want to get this black even thinner. Or if you just feel like you need a little bit more thickness to it as well, you can add that double layer, but I'm just going to add one layer here, roll it out a little bit, and then I'll just punchy up the other side with another metal mandrel. Heat everything up and go ahead and pull it out into a nice thin filigrana stringer. You're going to want a lot of this black stringer. This is pretty much, the whole thing is going to be built up with these. You're only going to use your rainbow stringers once, but this one you want a lot of. So I got about 3 feet worth of stringer here. All right, now we're ready to make the bead. So I'm going to start out with a base of white. And when I coat the mandrel, I want to really preheat my mandrel well because I want a very thin layer of white, and I want to just easily run the color all the way down my mandrel until I get the length that I'm looking for. So having that mandrel nice and hot will be helpful so you don't get bubbles rising up from the surface of it. But if you do, just pop them and keep going. And here I'm just going to roll things out and get to my beginning shape, which is a long, thin, barrel-shaped bead. The white here could have been even thinner, but this is what I got, so this is what I'm going to go with. And once I have this looking really nice, nice and even and nice edges, I'm going to start with my first encasement of clear. I'm going to do a few different encasements on this whole bead. But this first one, I want everyone to be relatively thin. So I'm just going to get a nice ball of glass hot and quickly run it down the sides of that bead. I like to use Moretti or the Effetri Super Clear. And it's just one of my favorite clears. Even if the rod looks a little dirty, it still comes out looking beautiful every time. So I'm going to heat everything up again and roll it out so I have a nice even shape to apply my first row of stringers to. I'm gonna just bring my torch down into a very tiny flame, and I'm just gonna start applying these black stringers, and I will put 6 lines down. Unfortunately, I did not put them down perfectly spaced apart from each other. But it's still, you can't even tell in the end. So if you're not perfectly laying these down, it's okay. Don't worry about any of this stuff in the long run, because of the twist that you're going to give everything, you really aren't going to notice. But one thing I do try to do is to start the cane on one end, and when I get to my finish end, I kind of try to curl it underneath that bead. But if I don't get it all the way around, I will go through like I am here and pull every little stringer end towards my mandrel. So in the final bead, everything will look like it's finished all the way up to both ends of the mandrel hole. And just, if you have never worked with the intense black, just to let you know, it is a dense color, and it took me forever to smooth everything out. Every time I would go to roll this out, it would just be kind of bumpy. So make sure that before you move on, when you roll this out, it's a nice and smooth roll. That means everything is flat against that white background. Now what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna do my first twist. And I'm just getting the whole thing hot, but focusing mainly in the center. And I'm sorry that I couldn't get a good shot of this. I wanted a big heavy flame, but hopefully you can see that that white is turning clear underneath and everything is kind of shifting. And I end up with this twist in the center. You can do a really tight twist. You can get more twisted than this, or a little bit more subtle if you'd like. Either way, when I'm done, I'm going to start to just taper the edges of this bead slightly. And this is where we're going to start out. I love the way this looks already. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our second coating of clear. And it's the same thing as the first time I coated it, as thin as a coating as you can get. But with that said, I will let you know that these coats of clear, the encasement is not, you don't have to. It's kind of an optional thing. You'll get a different look either way. So I want to start out always, anytime I go to reshape a bead, I'm always starting out on the edges and working my way into the center. And then right before I am ready for the next step, I'll give it a very slight taper on both ends. And for me, it just keeps the ends from getting really bulky and hard to get that color to run all the way up and down to. All right, so let's go ahead and add our rainbow of filigrana cane. I'm gonna start out with the violet, and this clip right here is all real time. And I just think it's important to let you guys see how slow I'm actually going when I make my work. You can't go much faster, then the glass will be hot. So I'm laying down the cane, and then I will pull both edges towards the mandrel, giving them a really nice finished look. I'll do this on every single color. Lay it down. I always like to preheat the area that I'm going to lay it down on, and then lay the cane down and grab one end, pull it towards the mandrel, and then do the same on the opposite end. It will just give you a really nice finish. All the colors that you see here are in the description of this video. Okay, this one is our orange, and then I have one more to do, the red. I don't often do rainbows, but it just works so well with the black and white. All right, I love the way this looks. I kind of feel like I could stop at any time. But what I'm gonna do is just immediately heat the edges and kind of start to, round them out, make sure they're getting close to the edge. and then I just spend a lot of time heating, and I don't want to roll the glass out just yet. I don't want to flatten anything out. I kind of want the cane to incorporate itself into the glass naturally, with me kind of helping a little bit. And then I get a little bit more and more into the rolling once that glass color starts to melt in. There is so much shaping and heating in this bead that I just really had to speed a lot of stuff up, like super fast. Okay, so this is going to be our next coating or encasement of clear. And this layer is optional. It really can look super fun if you add more black stringer on top of this layer and then put your clear on top, and then you're done. But here I'm going to add the clear, do another layer of the black filigrana, and then do another layer of clear. But like I said, it's all optional. Just kind of depends on how far you want to take it. Lots and lots and lots of heating. The bead itself took me about an hour to make, and I think most of it is because you're just spending so much time heating and rolling everything out. And that black being really dense almost took like double time to heat it in. But we're getting close. Tapering the edges, working those ends in, making sure everything looks really nice and neat before we move on to the next step. Okay, so I'm gonna put this intense black stringer down again. And I have kind of more of a bushier flame, just because this stringer, it just, like I was saying, it's really dense and kind of a harder, it's not as soft as the other 104 colors. I'll put it that way. But I'm going to start at the top, work my way down, and kind of curl it around to the bottom. And I am going to really, I'm not thinking about what's going on in the background. I'm just putting these on close to each other, but giving about 1 millimeter or so of width in between. All right, and I'm just gonna check my edges just to make sure they look nice, because this is the last time you'll be able to do this. So that edge that I started out with, I just turn my bead around and I'm just heating and pulling each one of those little stringers down just a little bit. I know it looks sloppy, but it works itself out in the end. And I always start by heating up the edge, because the glass wants to go where it's hottest. So if I know if I heat the end up really good, that glass will start to kind of migrate that way, and that I can finish by coming in with the paddle and lifting and curling those ends up a little bit. All right, I'm just finishing trying to heat all of this cane up. Again, it's a really stiff color, so it just takes a lot of time. I just want everything to be super smooth so I don't trap any bubbles when I go to do my final encasement. Okay, we're coming to a close here. All I have to do is encase this and finish the final twist. And I'm just gonna start, as always, on one end, work my way down to the bottom and swipe as I go. I always try to overlap. And with this one, it was easy because I was pretty much laying my cane down on top of each black stringer. And I needed to add a little bit more to the end to make up for the size. And that's always where I'm going to start heating, is that kind of the end that doesn't look as nice. So I'm going to put all my heat right into that edge, and then do that lift up with the paddle that kind of smooths everything out and gives it a really nice finish. Okay, so we are just about done here. All I have to do is finish heating this up and get into my final shape. I do want to finish this edge though before I do that. And from here, I can turn up my torch. This bead came out so much bigger than I expected. But so if you have a smaller bead, you don't need your flame to be so big and bushy. But for this one, I really kind of needed the help. And I want to make sure that when I start to turn the bead with the gravity, there it is. See how what I want to do is turn it around. And then I will be able to swirl in the opposite direction. And what I find fascinating about this technique is that you can get the glass really hot and start to pull the way you want it to, which would be towards me. And that already made swirl that's on that first layer will stay the way it is, because first of all, it's stiff black glass. And second of all, it's already made a swirl going away from you. So it's not gonna be easy for that glass to pull towards you again. So the only thing you're really working on is that surface. And I am just gonna get this sucker as hot as I can. And yes, it took about 7 or 8 minutes to finish this up in the heat. But through the magic of this video, I can speed it up and we can watch it happen really fast here. And I'm just going to get everything as hot as I can. I don't want to keep the heat right in the center because I want a much deeper curve to this swirl. And once things start to move, that's when I'll keep that heat more into the center and really get that glass to move towards me. And you can really push this a lot more if you want to, but I'm gonna stop right about here and let you guys take a look at this while it's really hot, and then let me cool it down for a second and you can see it a little bit better. And that is our double gravity swirl bead, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed this one. I just found this technique fascinating. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.